you come to resolve things, to understand things, to contribute what you already know, to offer your vibration or your words, or your vibration and your words, for the purpose of leading edge, joyful experience? Have you reached the place where you are willing to lie to us and tell us that you are enjoying the contrast of your time and place? Have you reached the place where you're not worried about the manifestation of things because you know that if is not part of it? It is certain that what you want is coming. It's just a matter of timing. So you are joyously, patiently enjoying the unfolding, yes? Yes, you are lying, yeah. It's all right. We like to play with you about that because when you are aware that whatever you want is coming. Esther said to Jerry yesterday, it's interesting, not only does the universe know the problems that we have projected into our future, the universe is already working on the solutions to the problems that we are creating. She said, it sort of makes you not want to worry about anything because the solution is right on the heels of the problem. And then she said, maybe I could even call the problem the asking. Maybe standing in the place that I don't want to be is really what the asking is. So when I'm standing in a place where I am anticipating a problem or sensing a problem or even living a full-blown problem, Esther opened her sound computer the other day and the screen broke right off of it. Not completely, but enough it didn't work. And Esther said, this is a problem. Can't edit tapes, can't record seminars. And then she remembered that she has a backup computer. And fortunately it happened when the person who created their sound machine was standing next to her. What are the odds of that, Esther said. Interesting, she said. Things like fan belts are going to wear, but the timing of when they break is everything, isn't it? And so when you begin to relax and understand that your well-being is so in place, and if you would relax and trust, not stand in this tense place that, oh, what would happen if the lid breaks off my sound computer, but instead, oh, things like that may happen from time to time, but it will always happen in the perfect timing, and it will never disrupt us. It will never be a big problem. Then you can begin enjoying what sometimes you try to positively call the challenges of life. We would prefer to call them the adventures of life. You really did not come forth into this physical environment from your non-physical perspective saying, oh, I think I will wait until they get my nest completely feathered and then I will go forth and just live happily ever after in my feathered nest. You said, I am a creator. You said, as Esther's favorite commercial from many years ago said, Mother, please, I'd rather do it myself. You really want to work in concert with the universal fairies of the universe, with law of attraction, with the energy of well-being. You really want to be the creator of your own experience. We know you do. But we want you to stop tensing against possible problems, and we want to say to you that they're not possible problems, they're certain problems. It is absolute that you're going to have questions in your mind all of your life that you don't have immediate answers for. This is what deliberate creating at its best is about. And the more you mix it up, Esther and Jerry and their sound person who helped them with their machines call this the bleeding edge of technology. And what they mean by that is there's always something new. He said, let's upgrade to operating system 10. It is more stable. Esther said, all right. So they went into Santa Monica, found the Apple store, stood in line, played with other happy Apple people, condemned IBM people to one another, referred to it as the dark side, bought the new computer, got back to the motor coach where they were installing the software, only to discover that the sound card, which is necessary to hook into the microphones, does not work with System 10, or at least not with the amount of information they had so far. Esther said, this is a problem. And we say, this is an asking, to which there is an answer. The question that we want to put to all of you is, how much grief do you decide that you will endure in that little interim space between the question and the answer, or between what you perceive as the problem and the solution? And what we are wanting you to understand is, if you will step back into the knowing, into that trusting place where you know that well-being is coming to you, and just because you can't see the answer right now doesn't mean there isn't one on your horizon, and that if you would relax softly into the sensation and knowing and belief. Well, let's start at the other end of the scale. If you would relax softly from your agony into your hopefulness, into your optimistic pessimism, into your sort of wanting to believe, into your believing. In other words, if you could just step back and look at the millions of other things that are happening around the planet that are going well, if you could look at the thousands of things that have gone perfectly well for you even in this day, if you could focus upon what is working instead of fixating on the problem. So you're getting a sense of what we're talking about here. So life experience is giving you contrast, which is causing you to have clarity about what you want. And whether you call it a problem, whether you call it a dilemma, whether you call it a question, it does not matter what you call it. In the moment that something that you want has been formulated within you, whether you have the answer or not, the answer is forthcoming, because when you ask, it is always given. So what we're wanting to help you to do is to become so aware that the answer is coming that you stop grieving so much about a seemingly unanswered question or a seemingly unsolved problem, because there aren't any long-term unsolved problems. They're all temporarily unsolved. They're all temporarily unanswered. And they would be instantaneously answered. You'll get so good at this as you get into this place where you start trusting things to go well for you. Jerry and Esther recall going to a restaurant with Louise Hay. It was the first time they'd met her. She took them to a lovely restaurant, and she picked them up in her fantastic Rolls Royce. Esther asked her, "Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon?" And she did. She keeps a bottle in her glove box just in case it comes up. And then she parked this magnificent car in a space for a compact car in a very confining underground garage. And as the three of them squeezed out of the car, Esther looked back at it and said to her, "Aren't you worried about your car in this very close space?" And she said, "No, I just expect everyone who sees this car to love and respect it as much as I do." In other words, she's practiced herself, not just about her car, into expecting good things to come. In other words, she has come to the place of understanding, and this is what we're wanting you to realize, is that there is no such thing as a problem when you understand that it's only an asking that is always answered. So then, instead of tensing and trying to live this perfect life where nothing ever goes wrong, instead, you just get out there and freely romp about, letting as much occur to you in as many ways as possible, understanding and trusting in every part of it that solutions and answers and well-being are on the way. And then you begin to lose your fear of life. You begin to lose your worry about what might come. And then, friends, you really begin to live. When you reach that place where you understand, because you've practiced it and because the universe has shown it to you again and again, that well-being is the order of your universe, then you can move about freely, without resistance, without cringing, without trying to remember every bad thing that happened and try to compensate for it, without trying to plug up holes that haven't even happened yet. In other words, you spend so much time trying to prevent things that you don't want from happening, not realizing that that war against terrorism is really stirring up terrorism. That war against poverty is really stirring up poverty. In other words, you just cannot focus upon the problem and beat the drum of the problem without activating the problem within your experience. And that's the reason you tense about problems. That's the reason you worry about a problem occurring, is because you've seen them. You know that things can happen, things that you don't want to happen. You look around the world, you know that people are living experiences that you don't want to live. But we want to say to you that if you can want so much to feel good, that you decide today, and we'll really go after it with you, that you decide today that you're going to work on your own vibration, you're going to work on your own point of attraction, you're going to work on the way you feel, because nothing is more important than that you feel good. Because when you feel good, you're offering a vibration that can only let in what is good. So how do I, in my physical form, shorten the gap between my identification of a problem and my allowing of the solution? You get your eye off the problem as quickly as possible and start focusing on the solution. So what are some reasons why you might not get your eye off the problem? Well, you might have someone close to you who doesn't understand how great your problem is. You might feel a need to explain it to them so that they understand why you feel the way you do. Because they're happy and they think you should be, and you want to explain to them why you're not. That's one big reason. Ringing some bells with some of you. Sometimes Jerry will be so happy and Esther will be in such a dilemma, and it is so annoying to her that he's so happy. Because it's like two different radio stations. They can't talk to each other. Something's got to happen. Either she's got to come up to his vibration or he's got to come down to hers. So there's a little battle of the wits. Let me explain to you. Let me justify to you why I feel this way. So maybe you won't think badly of me. And what we want you to understand is, it does not matter what anybody else thinks about you. The only thing that matters is your relationship with your source energy. That's what all of your emotions are about anyway. Do you know that? You are extensions of source energy. Do you know that? You are flesh and blood. Yes, you are. Here you are in your magnificent physical bodies, but you are vibrational beings. You are energy, first and foremost. And the energy that is you, that is really you, that is your source. You call it my soul. You call it my God force. We call it your creative life force, or the energy stream. This non-physical energy that is really you vibrates in this pure place of non-resistance. Pure positive energy, liquid love. That's who you are. So when you find things to think about that are vibrationally equivalent to your core or your source, you line right up and you feel wonderful. You thrive. That's what that thrill of appreciation is. That's what that thrill of love is. That's what that thrill of well-being is. Aligning with who you are. But when you focus upon something, and as you're focusing, even if you don't know you're focusing, you feel negative emotion, what that means every single time is you have introduced resistance to your, what would be a pure vibration if you weren't introducing resistance. So if you're loving you, you feel great. If you're feeling guilty about something or feeling unqualified or unworthy, you don't feel so great. And it's because your thought about you does not match your inner being's thought about you. Your inner being adores you. And when you don't adore you, you cause resistance in your vibration. We see so many of you not adoring you, and then feeling defensive with others. Do you know that the majority of what goes wrong in your experience, we can say this a better way, the majority of the reasons that you feel negative emotion are because you don't like you. And the reason you don't like you is because you've been looking to other people who don't care about you to be the path of liking you. Some of them, the most loving of them, are the ones that misguided you. Here's what we mean. Somebody adored you and you liked it. Remember? Feels so good. You want to lick their face. When they love you, it feels so good. And the reason it feels so good when they love you is because they're in tune with source energy and they're spewing it all over you. Of course it feels good. But then if you depend on that spewing to come through the eyes and appreciation of somebody else, now you start misusing your own guidance system. Instead of paying attention to your vibration, instead of learning about resistance, instead of practicing the thought that feels good and the thought that doesn't feel good, what happens is you start seeking approval from others, and then, it goes downhill so fast for centuries. In other words, then when you seek approval of others, then it's about keeping their rules, keeping their agreements, keeping their bargains, doing what they need you to do so that they can feel good. And they will sometimes, without even cringing a little bit, they will say to you, don't be so selfish. Don't be so selfish and do what feels good to you. And what they always mean is, do what feels good to me. They mean, if you would keep the rules that I believe you should keep, I would feel better. So you should keep those rules so that I will feel better. And what we want you to come round to saying to everybody about everything is, I want to get along with you because I love you, and I like it when you feel good, But friend, as much as I love you, I've decided that I will no longer sacrifice my feeling good for your feeling good.